Okay. Drinking coffee. Usually I'm drawing, highly Renaissance type drawings. And who knew that drawing the Renaissance would allow you to draw your animation drawings? So this is my little portable animation board, and I like to animate on this for my students. It's kind of fun. And it takes us back to the olden days, flipping paper, and I still love to flip. I still love to flip paper. So, okay, well, Corey has requested that I draw some characters for you from movies that I've had the pleasure to work on. I think one of the funnest ones was a movie called Space Jam, and I really enjoyed it. Space Jam, I was also in a managerial role, so we had a lot of meetings to go to. So where like in, Swan Princess, where, I worked on Puffin, pretty much, a lot of the movie, and on Space Jam, I didn't have the luxury of being assigned, so I just worked for all the employees. So it was really fun because, you have your employees, and of course, they're everything, and you have your leads. And I was a lead, but I was without a country. I didn't have a character, so I would just kind of walk around and say who needs work, and I would work for them. So maybe I would do, some breakdowns, or maybe I'd assist a scene, and then, I do in-betweens, and, but I was a lead, and then I would, show my drawings to whoever I got the drawings from, and are these okay, and, take my orders from them. So that's, I think, was one of the fun parts of Space Jam, was that you got to play a lot of roles. I got to be a supervisor, which means I got to, be in the meetings and, have fun making decisions that affected, the production of the film, which was really cool, and work with really amazing people, just incredible people. And then go to your office and, maybe key a scene, and then go look for work. And you never spend time just sitting around. So then you gotta walk around and say, who needs, who's got work? And then say, I got work. What do you got? Well, I got some in-betweens. Okay, so then you grab the in-betweens from that person and go back to your desk and do them. And, that's an in-between, might be a breakdown person that you're dealing with, and, I'm my position's up here. But at that point, that breakdown person became my boss. And then I would, do my drawing to bring it to them to get approval. And, a lot of times you got it wrong, because those people, they had their leads, and the leads, they spent a lot of time training on those characters. And I didn't have that luxury, because while they were doing a training, I might have been in a production type meeting. So I would, they might tell me to make changes, and I go back to my desk and make my changes, and then bring it back and get approval again. So again, I'm roughing her out, and Lola was a fun character because, when do you draw a bunny that's kind of sexy? It's just kind of weird. But she had a really good fan base. Everybody liked Lola. And so I had a lot of fun with her. Not her personally, but drawing her. And but she was fun. I think one of the funnest things for me to draw on Space Jam were the Monstars. So I had the luxury of cleaning up a lot of the slam dunks, and that came from a studio in Canada. Really great studio, and God, were they talented. So I got a chance to really have some fun with those and clean up the slam dunks. There was that fun scene of the hands on the ball, putting the energy back in the ball, and that was done by a French animator, really nice guy. And so I had a great time. Let's see, she's got this going into the nose like that. God, it's been so long since we've worked on these characters. So that was fun. He was a wonderful animator, great, really great guy, and so it was fun working on that scene. I had a crew. We all get our own crews, and so I had my crew work on the rotos because that ball had to be, the ball. Even though in live action nothing ever stays still. Animation, you can hold a drawing. Like I can hold this drawing for as long as I want, but in animation, nothing's ever still. So I knew that ball, the rotoscope of that ball, was going to be moving all over the place. So while I was working on keying out the scene, I had my crew very carefully trace around that ball. And so that when we went to register the hands onto the ball, there'd be no slippage and nothing crawling, because that's what it's what we call an A scene. Like this would be an A scene because it fills up the page. Probably a dialogue or personality. So that was fun. Space Jam went through pretty quick. We had 6 months to get the whole thing done, and boy, did we move on that. No pun intended. We jammed on Space Jam. I didn't know much about it because we were working on Quest for Camelot, and then they called us and they said, "Hey, we need you guys to finish Space Jam." So half the world came together and we finished Space Jam. And so I didn't really know much about it until I got to see the first reel, and I went, darn, this thing's funny. And I really had a good time. I thought it was just so cute. I liked when Daffy Duck was asking Bugs Bunny if he ever got any residuals. And Bugs Bunny said no, and Daffy Duck says, I think we're getting screwed. There's a lot of inside jokes in there because the voice talent gets residuals, but animators don't typically get residuals. So I thought that was kind of funny because it was kind of like a little jab. And there was a lot of that kind of stuff in that movie, which I thought was kind of cute. Okay, so she's got this neck. It's going to float around the back side of her head right there. So I got that. She's got a little narrower neck. I'll bring up her shoulder. It's weird. When you're on production, you work, of course, with soft pencils to rough, and then you work with color erase, red, blue. Now the funny part is at Warner Brothers we did a lot of testing and found that the dropout color, which is typically non-photo blue, wasn't the best color for a scanner. That the best look at this, got a bunny with boobs, that's kind of weird. The best color to drop out was red, and that really freaked me out because, to me, psychologically, red was free. You can do anything you want, so I would rough my drawings out with the red, and the color erase, Carmine, the red color erase was so soft and it felt really good. Then blue was free, but serious, because you can put a pencil line right over the blue and the blue wouldn't show up. So the blue was fun but serious. Red, you can do anything you want. And then the black, which was done with a 0.3 Pentel mechanical pencil, and you draw with it, and then you'd sharpen that pencil on a piece of paper like that, and you get it to like a needle, and then you draw it and just kind of sculpt in that line, because that line will be seen huge on a screen, so you don't think about the fact that that line's going to be seen the size of a movie screen. But now all of a sudden I got to change my head, that red is safe and blue is not. So what I did is I just roughed it like this, put a piece of paper over it, and then I did my finish cleanup on that piece of paper. So I actually never did a black line over a red drawing. just didn't work for me. It just kind of freaked me out. So, anyways, this is kind of a little cutie pie or Lola. Let's see, I met a little bunny, it was 8:15. And on the basketball court, she was really mean. Her name was Lola. A bunny named Lola. All right, so that's Lola. And she, I'm sure, is off model because I haven't drawn her in 100 billion years. But then I would make changes and make changes and make changes. And I would show it to whoever I was working with. Say, is this right? And they'd say, come on, Sheldon, you're like a half a line off. I'm like, I'm sorry. You know, and then I'd go back and make the changes and, you know, go back and do it again and do it again. And that's the wonderful thing about animation is that everybody works as a team, and I love it. Okay, that's Lola.